Idol life as a prison. One of the most striking truths in K-pop Demon Hunters is how the girls' double life mirrors the real struggles of idols. You notice right away that the Huntress girls aren't just juggling schedules, they're shackled by them. Every performance, every transformation, every moment of their lives is dictated by forces outside of their control. Rumi's demon identity drives this point home. She isn't simply hiding a magical secret, she's hiding her true self. She has to lock away her emotions, her desires, and even her natural instincts just to fit into the idol mold. The instant that mask slips, the punishment is brutal. Her friends, her company, and even her audience turn on her. When you watch that scene, it feels fantastical. But beneath the surface, it's a commentary on how idols are punished the second they stop being perfect. If you fall out of line, if your humanity shows, you're replaceable. Every stage battle the Huntress girls fight suddenly feels heavier. It's not just about slaying demons, it's about surviving inside a machine that demands they sacrifice their identity. And in that way, K-pop Demon Hunters frames idol life as a prison disguised in glitter. Fans as fuel. From the very beginning, the movie makes it clear. The Huntress girls' magic, their power, even their very survival, all comes from their fans. At first, it looks wholesome. Bright lights, roaring crowds, glowing hearts filling the arena. But the longer you think about it, the darker it becomes. If their power depends on fans, then their entire existence is conditional. They're only as strong as their approval rating. Without the fans, they're powerless. Maybe even meaningless. That's not empowerment, that's dependence, and then the demons figure it out. Instead of fighting Huntress head-on, they target the fans. The logic is chilling. Why bother breaking the idols when you can break the people who give them strength? Suddenly, cheering isn't just cheering, it's life support. The finale drives this home with terrifying imagery, a concert where the energy of the fans is literally drained away. Their devotion, their joy, their very souls are harvested as fuel. You realize this isn't just spectacle, it's commentary. It's about how industries use the bond between fans and idols, turning love into a resource that can be mined, drained, and sold back until there's nothing left. By the time the credits roll, the metaphor has landed. Fans may look like support, but in K-pop Demon Hunters, they're also a weapon, a tool that can be twisted, exploited, or stolen. And that realization sticks with you long after the lights fade. The boy band rivalry isn't just a joke. When you first meet the Saja boys, you probably laughed. They're flashy, goofy, dramatic, the perfect rival boy band, but once you peel back the layers, they stop being funny. They become tragic. Their hearts are fake. Their powers are manufactured. Their charm is an illusion crafted by dark forces. And at the center of it all is Jinu, their leader, who admits he sold his soul for fame. Think about that, a literal Faustian bargain dressed up in sequins and eyeliner. On the surface, it's camp, but beneath it, it's horrifying. These aren't villains because they're evil, they're villains because they're hollow. They sacrificed everything for power and applause, and in the process, lost the very thing that made them human. And that's the scariest part, because the film is telling you that in this world, fame always comes at a cost. Time, freedom, health, identity, something has to be burned away. The Saja boys show you the end result of that transaction. Powerful, adored, but ultimately empty. So when Huntress fights them, you realize it's not just a rivalry, it's a warning. The boy band isn't just competition, they're what the Huntress girls could become if they gave up their souls too. Tradition versus exploitation. The demons and spirits you see in K-pop Demon Hunters aren't random monsters. They're drawn from Korean mythology. Fox spirits, ghost brides, spirit contracts. Each one carries cultural weight and history. But notice how they're used. They're stylized, remixed, repackaged, turned into spectacle. At first, it feels like homage, but the more you look, the more it feels like a metaphor for exploitation. Ancient stories and sacred traditions aren't being honored. They're being mined, stripped of context, rebranded, and sold back as authentic. This mirrors the way the entertainment world can take culture, heritage, and even personal identity and turn it into a product. The demons aren't just enemies, they're symbols of something older, deeper, and exploited. When you see them on stage, fighting against neon strobe lights and EDM beats, you're watching tradition transformed into commodity. And here's the kicker. The Huntress girls themselves are trapped in that same process. They're cultural figures, symbols, and warriors, but also products, marketable, stylized, and endlessly repackaged. The movie quietly asks you, what happens when culture itself becomes just another costume? friendship as resistance. At its core, K-pop Demon Hunters is a story about fighting demons, but when you step back, you realize it's really a story about reclaiming identity. Rumi spends much of the movie hiding her demon side, terrified of rejection. Her fear isn't irrational, she's punished the second her mask slips. But when the group finally accepts her, everything shifts. Her demon side stops being a curse and becomes her strength. That moment is revolutionary, because the system only works if the idols erase themselves. The second they embrace their messy, complicated, unacceptable parts, the system loses power. The final battle isn't just about slaying monsters, it's about defying the unspoken rules. Don't be too real, don't show your flaws, don't step out of line. The Huntress girls break all of it by choosing friendship, honesty, and acceptance over perfection. And that's why the ending feels so powerful. It's not just a happy pop anthem, it's a rebellion. It's saying authenticity is the real magic, and friendship, not compliance, is the sharpest weapon against the machine. Idol contracts as demonic pacts. One detail you can't ignore, the way contracts are portrayed in the movie feels sinister. Spirit contracts, binding deals, bargains written in fire. Every time a character signs one, you feel the weight of it, because these contracts aren't just paperwork, they're chains. When Jinu reveals he sold his soul, you realize what the film is really saying. Fame is transactional, power comes with a price, and once you sign, you don't own yourself anymore. The metaphor couldn't be clearer. Every transformation, every deal, every bargain echoes that theme. The idols may look free on stage, but behind the curtain, they're bound tighter than ever. The contracts in K-pop Demon Hunters aren't fantasy. They're shackles dressed up as opportunity. And once you see it that way, the whole movie changes. You stop asking, why would anyone make that deal? And start asking, do they even have a choice? Manufactured rivalries and fan wars. At first, the rivalry between Huntress and the Saja boys looks like harmless fun. Girl group versus boy band, the perfect setup for drama. But watch closely and you realize how manufactured it feels. The rivalry isn't organic, it's staged, pushed by outside forces. Even the demons seem to delight in stoking the flames, knowing that as long as the groups are fighting each other, they'll never notice the bigger threat. This is one of the film's cleverest critiques. Rivalries don't just happen, they're built, nurtured, and weaponized. And who pays the price? The fans. You see it in the way crowds split, screaming for one side or the other, feeding into a cycle of competition that distracts everyone from the real enemy. The tragic irony is that Huntress and the Saja boys aren't so different. They're two sides of the same coin, both exploited, both chained, both fighting demons of their own. But by the time they realize it, the damage is already done. Exhaustion as an aesthetic. Have you noticed how often the Huntress girls are shown exhausted, collapsing backstage, pushing through pain, forcing smiles even as they bleed? On the surface, it's heroic, but the more you watch, the more disturbing it feels. The film glamorizes their exhaustion. Every moment of struggle is paired with bright lights, swelling music, and applause. It turns their suffering into part of the performance. And you can't look away. This is one of the darkest truths in the movie. Exhaustion itself becomes an aesthetic. Burnout is framed as beautiful. Pain is turned into spectacle. The girls are cheered not despite their suffering, but because of it. It's powerful commentary, because once exhaustion is aestheticized, there's no limit to how much idols can be pushed. As long as it looks inspiring, no one questions the cost. And that realization lingers with you long after the curtain falls. Sacrifice as the industry's currency. If there's one theme that echoes through K-pop Demon Hunters, it's sacrifice. Every character pays a price. Juni sacrifices his soul, Rumi sacrifices her identity, the fans sacrifice their energy. Even the demons themselves are bound by bargains that demand endless giving. The message is clear. Nothing comes for free. In this world, sacrifice isn't just a part of the system, it is the system. Every ounce of fame, power, or applause must be bought with blood, sweat, or pieces of yourself. What makes it haunting is how normalized it is. No one questions the constant sacrifice. It's treated as inevitable. And that's the real horror. Because once sacrifice stops being shocking, it becomes invisible. It becomes tradition. By the end, you're left wondering, how much can you give before there's nothing left? And the film doesn't give you a comfortable answer. The real villain isn't the demons, it's the system. Here's the twist most viewers miss. The demons aren't the true villains of K-pop Demon Hunters. They're flashy, terrifying, and dangerous. Yes, but they're also obvious. You can fight demons with swords and songs. The real villain is harder to see. It's the system that creates the conditions for demons to thrive. It's the endless cycle of contracts, fan wars, sacrifice, and exploitation that makes demons inevitable. Even if you slay one, another will rise because the system demands it. That's the most chilling truth of all. The Huntress girls don't just fight external monsters, they fight a structure designed to consume them, a system that thrives on their perfection, their exhaustion, their silence. And while the movie gives you a triumphant ending, the shadow of that system lingers. You realize the final battle wasn't against demons at all. It was against an industry that turns people into products and culture into currency. And that's a fight far scarier than any monster on screen. So yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters is flashy, goofy, and over the top, but it's also one of the most biting critiques of the idol industry we've ever seen in animation. Behind the glittering stages and anime fights, it's asking, what's the cost of being adored? And once you notice these truths, it's not just a fun popcorn movie anymore, it's a mirror, one that makes you question both the fandom and the industry it fuels. Because sometimes, the real demons aren't on stage, they're behind it. If you caught any other hidden truths in K-pop Demon Hunters, drop them in the comments. And hey, if you want more deep dives into films that seem fun on the surface but hide something darker underneath, hit subscribe. We've got a lot to talk about.